Hi, guess what? Santa's coming. So we're going to read a book called Santa's Coming to Brisbane. You ready? Santa is coming to Brisbane. There's a frog somewhere there. Well, boom Santa. Have all the children from Brisbane been good this year? Well, mostly, answered the little old elf as he bustled across the busy workshop to Santa's desk. Santa peered down at the elf from behind the tall, teetering piles of letters that the children from Brisbane had sent him. Mostly, asked Santa, looking over the top of his glasses. Yes, but they've all been especially good in the last few days, said the elf. Jolly good, chuckled Santa. Then we better get their presents loaded up. Even though the sack of presents was really, really big and the elves were really, really small, they seemed to have no trouble loading it into Santa's sleigh. Though how they managed to fit such a big sack into one little sleigh, even they didn't know, but somehow they did. Splendid, boomed Santa. We're ready to go. Not quite, Santa, said the little old elf. One of our reindeer is missing. Oh no. Missing? Which reindeer is missing? Asked Santa. The youngest one, Santa, said the elf. It's his first flight tonight. I've called him, but just then a young reindeer strolled up munching on a large carrot. Where have you been? Asked Santa. But the youngest reindeer was crunching so loudly that it was no wonder he hadn't heard the elf calling. Oh, well, never mind, said Santa, giving the reindeer a little wink. He took out his Santa nav and tapped the coordinates for Brisbane. This will guide us to Brisbane in no time. Crunch, crunch, crunch. That's what carrots sound like when you crunch them. With a flick of the reins and the jerk of his harness, off they went, racing through the sky. Ho, 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 laughed Santa. We'll soon have these presents delivered all over Brisbane. Santa's sleigh flew through the starry night, heading south. On they flew as the crisp wintry night turned to daylight in the wink of an eye. The sleigh crossed over the equator and headed down to Australia. The youngest reindeer was very excited. He had never been away from the North Pole before. That's him. They had crossed the Great Barrier Reef when suddenly they ran into a tropical storm. Couldn't see a thing. The youngest reindeer was getting a bit worried, but Santa didn't seem worried at all. In 2 kilometres, said the Santa nav in the bossy lady's voice, keep left at the next star. But madam, Santa blustered, we can't see any stars in the storm. Soon they were lost. Hopelessly lost.
What do you think, Nugget? Do you like the story so far?
I think so.
Nugget says she can't see anything either.
Then, through the heavy cloud, the youngest reindeer heard a faint, chiming sound. Bong, 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 bong. He looked over the old reindeer and the red nose, but he had his head down. Red nose, I wonder who that could be. There was that sound again, like a clock chiming. The youngest reindeer turned around to look at Santa, but Santa wasn't listening. He seemed to be arguing with a little box and the buttons on it. With a flick of the harness and a jerk of the reins, the youngest reindeer gave a sharp tug and headed off towards the sound of the bells pulling. Santa and his sleigh was right behind him. So it seems like the little one's going to take over. Whoa! Cried Santa, pulling his hat straight. What's going on? Then to his surprise, he heard the chiming sound. Well done, young reindeer, he shouted cheerfully. It must be Brisbane City Hall clock. Don't worry, children, Santa is coming. Then suddenly, crunch! The sleigh hit something as it plummeted through the cloud. You have arrived, said the Santa nav, unhelpfully. Uh-oh. Finally, when the clouds parted, Santa discovered where he arrived was. Stuck right at the top of the wheel of Brisbane. I've got to fix this now. Everybody pull. Pull! The reindeer pulled with all their might until at last, with a screeching noise, the sleigh scraped clear of the wheel. Santa steered them safely over the Anzac Square Memorial, past the Story Bridge, and down the Brisbane River until he could stop safely in South Bank Parklands. That was lucky. Luckily, there was no real damage done, but the packages had all been jumbled up. Santa quickly sorted his presents into order again. All right, said Santa, thanks to this young reindeer, I know where we are now. Don't worry, children, Santa is coming. Yes, I can't wait. Santa drove his sleigh expertly from rooftop to rooftop all over Brisbane, popping in and out of chimneys as fast as he could go, which was pretty fast because he's an old fella. It didn't matter how big the chimneys were, or even if the home had a chimney. Santa worked the speed of lightning, placing presents under every Christmas tree. The young reindeer was amazed at how quickly it went. Santa never seemed to get tired at all, and it looked like the children in Brisbane were going to be very lucky this year. But the youngest reindeer was starting to feel a bit weary and quite hungry too. All that flying through the sky. In house after house, Santa delivered inside his sack for a package of every shape and size. He piled them under the Christmas tree and carefully filled up the stockings with surprises. In house after house, the good children of Brisbane had left out a plate of cookies, a small glass of milk, and a big, crunchy carrot. Carrots. Santa took the little bite out of each cookie, a tiny sip out of milk, wiped his beard, and popped the carrots into his sack. From Chermside to Chandler, from Manly to Moggle, and all the places in between, Santa and his sleigh visited every house in Brisbane. Santa delivered presents to Andrew, that's me, Alison, Anna, Arabella, Archie, Ashley, and the list went on and on. Zach, Zara, Zeb, Zoe, Zilby, Zibble. Finally, Santa had delivered the last present to his long Brisbane list. Great moons and stars, sighed Santa. It's nearly morning and my sack seems as heavy as ever. I hope I haven't forgotten anybody. Santa opened his sack to check, but it was full of juicy, crunchy carrots. Santa divided the carrots among all the reindeer. Well done, he said, patting the youngest reindeer gently on the nose. But the youngest reindeer didn't hear him. He was too busy munching. It was time to set off for home. Santa reset the Santa nav once more to the North Pole, and soon they were speeding over the gap, past Lake Wivenhoe, over to Woomba, and into the rapidly approaching dawn. Ho, ho, ho! Laughed Santa and gobbles. Merry Christmas, Brisbane! Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas, everyone!